I'm Christine Carter, and I'm a sociologist and happiness expert, and I've written a book called The Sweet Spot: How to Find Your Groove at Home and Work. Technology is one of those mixed bags, as we all know, right? We could not live the lives that we do anymore without the efficiency that technologies bring us. And I have found that used really strategically, technology is one of the most important enablers I have for living and working from my sweet spot, for sure. The key word there, though, is strategically, right? So often we aren't strategic about our technology use. We get what researchers call variable ratio reinforcement from constantly checking our email and our text messages and our social media feeds. So that constant checking behavior, although it can be kind of pleasurable, is also incredibly draining for us, and for most people leads to a sense of overwhelm, or what researchers call cognitive overload. That cognitive overload drains our brain power, makes us considerably less intelligent. In fact, it lowers our IQ the same amount that missing an entire night's sleep would, or being stoned would. It also tends to make us irritable and irrational. So this is something that we need to put in check and realize the damaging effect that it can have on our productivity and our overall well-being. For the most part, I think multitasking is not something that we should be bragging about. We have this sense, particularly working moms have this sort of bravado about our ability to do 6 things at once. And actually what we know is that if you're trying to do 2 intellectual tasks at the same time, meaning one task is not on autopilot, your brain doesn't do them at the same time. It's not like there are parallel channels that are actually doing 2 things at once. You're switching back and forth. And a lot of times you can switch incredibly fast, and people who think that they're good at multitasking are just switching more quickly than other people back and forth between tasks. But when researchers measure how long and how error-prone people who are multitasking are, what they find is they tend to lose up to 25% of time in that switching back and forth, and they tend to be far more error-prone. So this is also a big drain on our energy and our sense of overwhelm. When we just focus on one thing at a time, not only can we do it more quickly and more correctly or better, but we don't end up feeling quite so drained. We humans are not smartphones. We are not meant to have multiple apps running at the same time. Our brains were designed to focus on one thing at a time. Now, that said, I multitask all the time, but I'm very strategic about it because I understand the mechanisms at play. So, for example, when I'm writing, I tend to work at a treadmill desk. So technically I'm multitasking. I'm walking or exercising at the same time I'm working. Or I tend to fold laundry when I'm helping my kids with their homework because there's all this downtime. So I don't actually need to think to walk on a treadmill the same way I don't need to think when I breathe while I write. I don't need to think while I fold laundry. I'm not a very good laundry folder. I do it without thinking, right? But I do have to think while I help my kids with their homework. So long as you're, combining a physical or autopilot kind of a task with an intellectual one, you're fine multitasking, and actually I think it's very efficient. If you'd like to learn more about living and working from your sweet spot, I'd encourage you to visit my website, christinecarter.com, and to sign up for my weekly happiness tips.